Good morning, everybody. Testing everything. Microphone's working. Music is on. We're good to go. Sweet. That's the one. Nice. And what am I doing? I've completely lost the plot. Oh yeah. Going to get rid of that one because that's the wrong file. And that's still the wrong file. That's the one I want. And I'm looking at this. Right, I might start creating some renders for that. That's what I'm gonna do. Nice. Okie dokie. Time to start building up a new environment, I reckon, for the headquarters of the bad guys, the villains of the piece, if you like. So I think I might start off with, start off with a plane. Gonna make it like, this is gonna be a big room, so I'm gonna go with, like, to be fair, it doesn't actually matter all that much. I can scale it, so I'm just going to go with 5 meters now, like so. Cool beans. I hope you're all having a good day today, whenever you're watching this, if you're watching me live or if you're watching this in the after recording. It is absolutely glorious weather outside. I've actually had to put a blackout thing in front of my window because the sun's just so goddamn bright. And yeah, it is soaring in terms of temperature, so I'll probably only manage a couple of hours today before I'm gonna have to stop and turn the fan on because it's already getting quite sweaty in here. Cool, right, so this is gonna be kind of office stroke. No, I don't want to do boardroom, I'll leave it as an office for now. But I think I'm going to go with something different for the walls this time because reusing the same walls and stuff is probably going to get a bit samey. So what I might do is just use a couple of planes that need to be 3 meters size. That just shows you how small this room actually is relative to the height of it. If I rotate that on the x-axis by 90 degrees, and then I lift it up by 150, and I can send it back on the x-axis by minus 250. Nope, that'll be the wrong axis then. Try on the z-axis. God damn it, new mouse, by the way. So if I look like I'm being cack-handed, it's because I've got a new mouse and I'm not used to it yet. 250. No, it doesn't actually matter. I've got to create them identically anyway. So X scale. What's 3 divided by 5 or 5 divided by 3? I don't know. Let's find out. 5 over 3 equals 1.6666667. So we need to make this on the x-axis 6, 7. Boom. Now we can duplicate that rather there we go, and minus 250 for this one. Nice. I think I might make this like a vignette and not actually make it a full room because it's probably going to be a limited number of scenes in this. So what I might do is change the rotate from X to Z, and then change its X translate to -250. Change this Z translate to 0. And then swap that for Z scale. Lo and behold, we have our vignette. I'm starting to doubt my choices now. I'm starting to question myself. No, do you know what? Screw it. Let's just stick with the good stuff. There. Come on. Nope. Hope you're doing well today. Probably already said that. Do repeat myself somewhat. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this into a hallway with an outdoors. So I need to change the scale of one of the axes, but I'll do that in a moment because it's not vitally important that I do it. First things first, we need to give this place a front door, which I'm going to go with... She'll do. Hey, look at that. It's not actually that far off. I might just leave that as it is. And now I need to put some walls either side of that one so that it looks like it's an actual... Go with one of these. Yeah, that'll do. And that needs to be -150 perhaps. Boom, look at that, beautiful. And we'll do another one of those. We'll set this one on the opposite side. Look at that, perfect door. Nice. Okay, so now I need some long walls along this side. One of them's going to have doors on it. One of them will have a couple of windows. Give it a one of these. Y rotate, please. Come on, come on. 90 degrees. Nope, that's the wrong freaking one. This one, Y rotate 90. This translate's going to be 150. No? Okay, let's try 225. Yeah. Yeah, that's the puppy. And then, god damn it, this new mouse, it's going to take me a while to get used to it. I have to apologise. Let's translate 150. Boom. Hello, Ben. Well, I hope you're having a nice time camping. Whereabouts are you camping, bro? Okay. That's 225, 150. So we need to go -225. This one's also going to be 150, and then we'll rotate it -90. Boom. Right, so that's kind of what we're going for. I'm going to add another row of windows and a door on this one. Yeah, double door, why not? Posh. Simple. $225. Y rotate's going to be 90, and X position is anyone's guess right now. Let's just go to there. Let's see where we're at. Z translate should be 450 then. Well, that seems quite seamless at 455 to be fair. Goodness me, this new mouse is sensitive. Right, yeah, I reckon 455 might actually be it. It is. Son of a bitch. I need to extend the Z scale of this a smidge. Sorry about that. Turning into Barry White. Save my life. And on this side, I'm just going to put more windows through it. This will be exciting. Which ones did I go for? They've got 6 panes. So this one. That's going to be minus 225. That's going to be minus 90. And on the Z translate, it was 455 if I remember correctly. Hells yeah. Right, I could faff around like putting the environment sets specific ceiling in here, but I don't really see any mileage in doing that. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this plane. Duplicate node. And then this one's going to go at 300 centimeters. Is that enough? Let's go up to 305 just to be sure. Yeah, that'll work. Cool beans. Apologies. Right, so this door is actually going to be open for this scene. Probably go to about there, that's fine. And I'm going to have to probably block off the back end like we did in a previous video. But before I do that, I'm going to select all this lot, put it all in a group. Yeah, let's do the mouse. I'm going to turn down the sensitivity of this mouse somewhat. Okay, now that's silly. Is that one? There we go. Right, that's a lot slower. But this new mouse has got like crazy DPI, so there we go. That should make it a little bit easier to use. Right, so that's all in the group, so I can now turn off the selectability of that. And I'm going to create a new plane. This one's going to have like 10 divisions, and it's going to stay 3 meters because it's going to be the back wall. Should have just made it 5 meters to be honest, but it doesn't matter. Right, so the X scale is going to be 167, and the X rotate is going to be 90, and it's going to fill up the end of this hallway quite nicely. And I drag it back so that I'm giving myself as much of the room to play with as possible. Nice. Very slight difference in lengths of that, but that's fine. It'll work. Right, let's go into wire shaded mode. So if as I need to remove some of these blocks, I can do it. It's fine. I could just do it now, to be fair. So if I go into the geometry editor tool, which is this one, and make sure I've got the plane selected, I can actually just so if I wanted to get a good angle from here, geometry editing, delete selected polygons, yarp. Now I can put my camera right down here. And that'll give me a good kind of angle from down here. Pop the camera in. Guppy active, viewport transforms, accept, jump into that camera. Move myself down. Oh, that'd be the wrong button then. Let's try moving it back again. Right, we want to come. We want to get in there, but not in there, if that makes any sense. So we need to be able to look at the door. Does Daz prefer GPU or CPU? When you're rendering, GPU always. Although if you've got a rubbish GPU, it will just go to CPU fallback mode. But when you're doing stuff like what I'm doing at the moment, it's more GPU intense. Okay, now I've got that. Can go to camera, change focal length. So I've that there, noise, add a bit of depth of field. Go into perspective mode. And let's down that until it's looking at the doorway. Hi Rab. Hello everybody watching. Good to see you all. Whether you're chatting or not, it's all good in the hood. Right, so now we can put a good HDRI in this thing. So let's go to my render settings, change the environment to my standard. Get that out of the way so you can see what go on. I've pressed the clock now. What was I doing? HDRI. Just headbutted my microphone. Down to my standard. This might not work actually, to be fair, because it's looking out the window. That one. Give that a moment to have a think, because that studio am amazing. And on that, off that. What I've done is just turned on draw dome and turned off draw floor, because we're not looking at the floor, so there's no point wasting time and energy doing that. So now I'm just having our butchers to see if the natural light created by the HDRI is enough to illuminate the inside of the room. Let's try rotating the dome slightly, because it feels like the sun is coming from slightly too far to the right. But if I rotate it by 325, that doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. Alright, let's go back to move shaded and add our character, one of our characters. Give that about half an hour to load. What GPU? Anything really. I mean, no GPU is going to give you instantaneous renders. You're always going to have to wait. The amount you want to wait is, you know, I'm using a 3080 and I still on some renders have to wait a good hour or so. It just depends on what you've got in the scene, but there's no such thing as a fast render in Ren'Py, and that's Studio. What I would focus on, the two most important things for rendering is the VRAM, the more the better, and the CUDA cores, the more the better. See, my GPU, it's got a hell of a lot of CUDA cores, but it's still only got limited VRAM. So if you go over the top with geometry or textures in your scene, if your scenes are too complicated, then it's going to drop to CPU rendering, and then you really are going to be in for a long wait. But these days, you can buy a 3080 Ti, or rather, the recommended retail price of a 3080 is cheaper than the 2080 series and the 1080 series. However, because of demand, people are charging obscene amounts for those same GPUs. Bear with me a second, I'm going to sort my camera out. It's weirdly. It's better. See, I'm using I've got 32 gig of RAM and an Intel i9700, and it's still taking me this long just to load a character into the scene. That studio is not very well optimized, and it makes it extremely difficult to manage your content. If you have missing assets, I migrated hard drives, and for some inexplicable reason I lost a lot of the assets, so there's no way of telling. With a content library the size that I've got, there's no way of going through and telling which bits are missing. So until you try and use them, you don't know if they're missing, which is really friggin' annoying, because there could be gigabytes worth of stuff that I need to re-download. But because there's no easy way to do it in Dash Studio, if I had a wish list of things that I'd like to see changed, that would be number one. Is making it easy to manage your content, to see to just go through and check every product that you download from the Dash Studio store has an XML file in it that tells Dash Studio what files the product is supposed to contain. So it wouldn't be that difficult for them to implement some way of just checking that the files exist. That's all they've got to do, is just have a button that says like verify files, and it will just go through your content library and check. There might even be a way of doing it, and I just haven't figured it out yet, but it doesn't seem like there is. So you end up having to go and do what I had to do the other day, or the other week when I did a video of it, which was deleting my entire content database and then reinstalling it, which is painful. Right, she is not in the right position. Just center on her. Right, there we go. She's going to be standing kind of over here. Go into smart content, into my poses. Function standing. It is such a lovely day outside. I'm actually quite looking forward to just going out. What's going on the interesting pose? Not the kind of pose you expect someone to do when they're standing at your front door, so I won't do it. Yeah, this one kind of works. Not. As time goes along and I buy more packs of poses, I am starting to get a collection of non-sexy poses. I'm almost tempted to go through and select them all and put them into their own category, just so that I can quickly filter them when I'm looking for them, because even in a visual novel of the adult variety, you still need poses that aren't like that. Right, so the purposes of this, what I might do is do that and shrink this down so that the camera is properly, like, tightly focused on her. That's not the reason mine takes a long time to load, bro. Mine takes a long time to load because I'm missing a shitload of files and it's trying to reference them. This character is actually a Genesis 8 with one morph on it. I created it as a custom morph. Okay, right, now I'm here. I want to focus in on her a little bit more tightly. And there. Okay, back to perspective view. Right, now we can see how tight that's made the focus. We can open up the f-stop a little bit. Let's switch to NVIDIA IRA mode now and see what the crack is. Cool beans. Right, so she's there. Looks really happy to be at the front door, so I might have to give her a different expression. And I can start populating this hallway with some stuff to make it look like it's an actual human hallway. Smooth shaded. Perspective view. God damn it. Right, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this plane inside that group. And I'm going to hide that group. Wait! Just for a moment. Get some plants in here. amongst yourselves. Okay. I want to keep reusing the same plants over and over again. That would make for a very dull scene. Got plenty to choose from though, pages and pages of them. Look at this indoor plant. That's a good sized indoor plant. Get a couple of them in the go. Right, let's turn that group back on. Use the move tool and just slide one of these over to here behind the door. And one of these over to here in this corner of the room. This is quite a large hallway, so we've got the luxury of being able to play. Have some kind of hanging basket outside the door. I wonder if I've got one of those in my collection. Oh, I could just make a fake one. Wouldn't be a particularly strenuous thing to do. I need to put a tree and some stuff behind her anyway. It's kind of like a foreground breaker. Let's just go with this and see what this looks like. It's going to look ridiculous right now, but if I was to stick this all the way over there. One of these maybe behind her there, sort of like looks like it's on the edge of the garden path. If I stick it kind of there. Oh, there was some interesting thing. Oh, the rose arch. Now that's an interesting idea. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Hey, well done, Fellenstone. From one clothing or hair to another, similar cloth. Yes, you can, Rabia. Use the transfer tool. Boom, 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 boom. Right, let's just try this. I'm going to put that there. It's going to be a hanging basket, even though we can't actually see the basket. I'm going to put it on this side of the door. I'm going to have to come outside and do this bit. You might be wondering why I'm bothering doing this stuff if it's outside the room, but it's kind of because of the angles that I'm working. We want to add some foliage and random stuff behind just to add some depth. Bit of depth. Already done it, mate. Already done it. Using the transfer tool is in the it's in my playlist somewhere. It might not be called how to use the transfer tool. It might be like creating, or even in creating a character, but it's the same principle. It's the same principle. This is a big ass flower. Oh, look at that. That's a beast. That'll work. Get our garden path nicely decorated. Let's just slot that over here, down there. We're not actually going to be getting any pictures of her feet, so it's all kind of like middle ground stuff. Yeah, I know Spin FK, but that's what I'm saying is because I'm missing so many of them, but there are still references to them. That's what takes the time. That's why if you go through and delete the files that are being, or delete the files that are referencing other files that speed it up. Temporary bush. Hedge. Screw it, let's add a hedge. Wow, well, I asked for a hedge and I got a hedge. Jeebus. That is a beast. Don't need that, that's just ridiculous. Let's go back to our camera for a second and see what we can actually see. For this shot, we're okay. We are okay. Let's have a look through NVIDIA iRay and see what comes out of that. Cool. Right, now I do need to add an interior light, I think, just to fill the shadows a little bit. Well, I might get away with that, to be fair. Let's load our other character into the scene and we'll see what happens. Okay. Into my content library, into there. Characters and ooh, there's a new toy. Or the highlighter on OBS. Probably won't be using that anytime soon. Literally. Add a table and some prop on it near the camera. It will enhance the field effect. Thanks for that. It's probably not going to fit in this scene. But it's something I could potentially do. Usually I just use a plant, but again, this is a hallway, so too many obstructions wouldn't really fit the scene. Juxtaposition, my friend. That music's still playing. It's been going for half an hour. No, it's still going. It's still gunning. Alright, okay, there's our boy. Get rid of all of this stuff into that group as well. Come on, Daz. Wakey, wakey. That group. Minimize said group. He's going to go 180 and we're going to give him a new pose. No poses. Bum, 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 bum. Standing. So you never actually see the main character's face in the game. The game is mostly shot in third person, first person. But there are some bits that are shot in third person, but you still never actually see his face. He's always either, cut off or blurred. Let's see if we can find him a pose that befits the scene. He's answering the door and he doesn't know who this lady is. We could do him leaning on the door frame. That'd be interesting. Let's see what we've got in terms of leaning poses. Might not have any. Might be. Oh, there we go. Boom! Exactly what I was after. Yeah. Still though, no, I'm sorry, I sort of shut you down a little bit there. It's nice to have suggestions, good to shows people are paying attention to the videos I upload, which is good. And you're going to be leaning on the wall like so. Into the camera view. Boom, look at that. Nice. Right, now we can select both of our characters. I could faff around doing this manually, but since I've got the script I might as well use it. And into that one. Accept. Cool, right, now we can give her a new expression. She is called Mum because she's the mum from a different game. She's not actually called Mum in this game. She's actually just a random stranger. Well, so you think. Smart content expressions, please. Don't want anything fluffy, we just want something friendly. Friendly, friendly, friendly. See what this one looks like. It might look like utter gash. It might look good. We don't know. We will find out. Video array. Quite a lot of geometry to work with now, so let's wait and see. Right, is he lit well enough or does it look bad? He doesn't look like he's in the theme because the light just isn't quite. Maybe the depth of field is too shallow as well. He's a little bit too out of focus, I think. Okay, the camera. Let's try F. I want to say F16. See if that works. Let's try F22. Now, let's see if I change some of my render settings slightly. Maybe come back a bit and go 340 with the light source. No, 325 was, well, to be fair, it doesn't actually look any like worse. Try, let's just go like slightly different in the other direction, perhaps. That may work. Oh, 325 was working. That was working. We're just going to have to add a couple more light sources. That's all. It's texture shaded. In your own time, Dad Studio. Don't crash. Yay! Right, into perspective view. So I'm going to add two light sources. One for like simulating the main hallway lighting. It's just going to be a plane here. That's size 3 meters, whatever. Back this up. Set this to 300 because the ceiling itself is 305. Add my like material. I should theoretically completely blow out the scene now. Let's see. Right. I don't know where everybody is from. I don't even know who's in the chat at the moment because I haven't got a list or anything like that. But in the UK, it's Freedom Day tomorrow. Probably, unless someone changes their minds. Coming out of lockdown, mostly. Still a couple of things that are going to linger, like social distancing and masks, but my god, that is bright. Let's go to surfaces. Now it makes it look like really, really badly photographed Polaroid. Lighting makes all the difference. Yeah, it definitely is, Rab. Alex is in the Netherlands. Great minds think alike, man. Let's try 200. Yeah, adding depth of field, just, yeah, as I said, I appreciate the suggestions. Adding depth of field, something in the middle ground, isn't necessarily a bad idea. It just wouldn't fit for this scene because it's a long, empty hallway. Yeah, you're not wrong, save often. Right, that is still crazy bright. Let's try 50. Right, that's added a bit of a fill light to inside the room. Something's not sitting right. Something does not sit well in this. Maybe it's his position. He looks flat. She looks great. He looks flat. He's out of focus. He's meant to be out of focus, but he just looks too flat. So I might have to add an edge light to him or something just to add some depth to this thing. So let's come out of it. NVIDIA again. Add it to perspective view. Who my renders? It depends on the scene. No two scenes are the same. This one would probably take not too long because it's very basic, even though it's got 2 characters in it. But it really depends on the available light and the contents of the scene. I feel like there should be more light hitting him, so perhaps I have a sphere. Not too long is something between sort of 20 and 40 minutes. Even you know, a well-optimized scene, if there's a lot going on and there's not much light, if you're going for dramatic lighting effects or whatever, they can still take hours. It just depends on what the contents of the scene are, how well optimized it is. It's too many factors. It's like people who say, how many iterations do you leave your renders for? Again, there is no golden figure. It depends on the render. It really does entirely depend on what you've got in the scene. And let's have a look at this one. There should be like a massive glow behind the side of her head now, which we'll fix obviously, but I'm just experimenting at the moment. But this isn't the only shot I'm going to be doing. That's why I'm not randomly moving things in front of the camera, because it may very well work for this shot, but in the next shot it might not work. And I want to try and keep my continuity a little bit up, but keep the suggestions coming, guys. Always appreciate. Right, that's perhaps a little too bright. That was more what I was after, but just not that much. Let's try 500 and see if that fixes that. I just wanted some light to be hitting him as well as her. It's a sunny day outside. He's got the door open. Even if the shadow was, the light was pointing from the wrong direction, some contrast should still be visible on his body. So that's what I was after. And right, let's just come out of NVIDIA iRay mode. Come out of this camera. I'm going to swing the camera around to another angle I intend to use, because I feel like it might make more sense what I'm doing. Yeah, man. Playing with light is my Jimmy Jam. Sounds absolutely ludicrous coming from someone British, doesn't it? Because of the photography background, I spend an inordinate amount of time in DAS Studio just playing around, moving lights around and stuff, just experimenting to see what I can do, what I can and can't do. That's the beauty of using DAS Studio, is that nothing's permanent. It's not like in real life. Obviously, I've got my own light modifiers and photography equipment. So the problem is that you can move stuff an inch and it'll completely ruin the lighting. And the problem is then trying to faff around getting it back to where it was, and you'll never do it. But in Dash Studio, once you get something perfect, save it, and it's there forever. It's there forever. Forever. Perspective view now, because I need to see what's going on with that camera. It needs to be focused on her grid as well. Depth of field on. Focal distance. The room is bigger than it looks. Certainly is, right. This one's going to be really shallow depth of field. And that is pretty much bang on where I want it focused. Yeah, fair play. Can't argue with that. I've played around with Unreal, but yeah, as you said, it's pretty involved. This is monkey see, monkey do stuff. I say that, I don't mean that as a condescending remark as people who don't know how to use it, because it does take practice, and repetition is the way to get good at doing things in Dash Studio. But once you learn how to do things, it's just like, you know, everything falls into place. And there's always, obviously, my video is like, my video library now on RenPy and Dash Studio is pretty vast. So you can almost always find an instructional video on my channel about how to do something if you need to remember. Yeah, I can imagine that's probably a pain in the bum if you've not got like not got a great GPU. But that's kind of why you do this, isn't it? It's kind of why you go backwards and forwards into NVIDIA IRMA, just to check. I know it's always going to be a little bit of a, because preview mode doesn't give you everything. Oh, thank you very much. Very kind of you to say. It depends on the version. I don't know so much about the latest version. Dibs, because obviously SLI would be great because it would make massive difference. And previous versions of Dash Studio were using SLI, but the new version I don't honestly know. I can't say with any authority. Right, I feel like this is the crop's wrong or something. Let's try focal length. Let's just try cutting in, because it feels like this back area is too dead. Yeah, keep doing this. There we go. That looks better. Because of the trees, it looks dark. On paper, SLI is amazing because it makes things crazy quick. I don't have enough. Wow, that is really shallow depth of field. We need to increase that. I don't have enough experience of it because I've never used it, but I've seen other people use it. There's some people who used to follow me back when I was lowly 2,000 subscriber channel, as opposed to the dizzying heights of 9,100 that I'm at the moment. Who posted videos sort of demonstrating the difference in rendering time with two 1080 Ti's in SLI configuration, and it was dramatically quicker than one 1080 Ti, to be clear. Compared to a 3080, two 1080s in SLI wouldn't be very quick, but the thing is, Rab, the amount of money that you have to spend on two 1080s, you could probably just buy the 3080. I know that there are people out there being a-holes and putting insane markup on the 3080 at the moment, but the recommended retail price was only like 700 quid. What, $1,000? $900, whatever it was. So soon enough you'll be able to pick them up for that again. Still not available. God damn. I would say the shipping times might be bad, but the shipping time for my 3080, I bought it on the day of release because I knew that people were going to put markups on it and there'd be scalpers and all sorts. So I put in my order as soon as I possibly could, which was a challenge itself because so many people were doing that the websites were crashing. Both Scan and Overclockers, which are like the two main distributors in the UK. They just weren't up to the challenge. But anyway, I managed to get my order in. It took me 3 months to get the GPU, but I got it in December. It did make a dramatic difference to my life. Even with just like recording video. Like recording a video, because I'm streaming at the moment, you're only seeing one screen, but because people were complaining that they couldn't see what I was doing on my content library because I have a 2-screen setup, I now record both screens at the same time. So obviously I'm recording nearly 4,000 pixels across by 1080 down, and it doesn't skip a beat, doesn't affect my frame rate or anything. Yeah, I'd wait for the price to come down. It's just not worth. Don't get me wrong, the 30 series are amazing, but with all these assholes out there trying to, adding £1,000 markup, they didn't pay that much. They paid the Mecca in the retail price. Just don't waste time or money by paying more than you should do for these things, because all it does is encourage and reinforce this kind of behavior, and it's just wrong. It's wrong because these people have done nothing other than order it at the right time. They, causing the websites to crash and all that sort of thing by they order it and then they just sit on it, and then 6 months later they charge twice the amount for it. You really shouldn't be, reinforcing that kind of behavior. And I'm pretty sure that in the UK, the government, I can't remember if they made it illegal or if some legislation was put in place last year, not about this, because of COVID. People were buying hand sanitizer and then selling it for like 1,000% markup. So the government actually put some legislation in place to prevent people from scalping. Didn't work, obviously, but the point is obviously that we shouldn't be encouraging that sort of behavior. I know the 17 people watching me now probably mostly agree with that, but it's not just in GPUs, it's in everything. It's houses. Look at houses. People buy houses, do them up, and then charge twice as much as they're worth. And then there's couples out there, young families in their early 20s, who can't afford to buy houses because dickheads are jacking the prices of all the houses up. So there's people like myself who, I've got a decent job, but, I haven't got a shitload of spare income, but I'm comfortable. But I can't afford my own house, because in order to buy your own house in the UK at the moment, you need to build up your deposit of at least sort of £15,000, which in dollars is about $22,000 just to get a mortgage. No, I can't remember. I know that they did something last year because of all the people scalping hand sanitizer, but I can't remember the exact details. But, it's a problem, definitely. The thing is, sites like eBay and all that sort of thing, yeah. See, if you was, cars are a prime example, right? If you were to buy a car, the minute you drive it off the lot, it drops in value by about 25%, and then over the course of the first 6 months of that car's existence on the planet, it drops by another 25%. So a year after you buy a new car, it's only worth half as much. No matter how much you try and sell that car for, you will not be able to sell it for more than 50% of what you paid for it, realistically. And I think the same thing should apply to people with GPUs. If you buy a GPU, it should, you immediately lose the VAT on it, which is 17.5%. And then, but that's the point. It absolutely should lose half of its value. Absolutely should, because then whoever tries to resell it for 200% of the price they paid for won't be able to. I mean, let's be honest, that literally the only people I don't know why this turned into a rant about fucking scalping, but there you go. Literally the only people who actually need a faster GPU are people who, like esports, people who for every frame per second makes a difference. For those of us, I'm going to go ahead and make an assumption about the majority of people watching this my channel. For most of us, the difference in half an hour per render doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's going to be the difference of maybe 1 or 2 renders a day, which is neither going to make nor break you. So, well, quite the rules of supply and demand. But that's the point, isn't it? Is that the demand is there, but there are people buying up the supply and then reselling it. That's not capitalism. That's just being an asshole. But then, yeah, as I said, we shouldn't be encouraging that behavior. At the end of the day, the power is still in the consumer's hand. As I said, nobody watching this channel realistically actually needs a 3080. They're just luxury items. They're nice to have things. So, don't buy one for the 2,000% markup that dickheads are putting on it. Wait till it drops back down. Yeah, but generally when you buy and trade things, you don't expect to pay more than the person who bought it is selling it for, apart from the retailer. The retailers have to make money from it because that's their business. They're retailers. But buying something from a retail buying something that's already got potentially 20% markup on it and then selling it for a further markup is not fair on the consumer. If the consumer's daft enough to go and pay that money, then fair enough, but that's the difference between scalping and retail. Retailers are buying them at wholesale prices and then adding their markup so that their business can continue to run. Scalpers don't. $650. I had a GTX 650 and it wasn't a terrible graphics card, to be fair. That's the thing, though, isn't it? There's infrastructure in other countries to be able to do this. And I'm not saying that everyone should abandon the countries that are making it because they're having geopolitical issues, but capitalism requires these sorts of things to be, I don't want to say dealt with, that's the wrong word, but sooner or later you have to stop relying on people who can't deliver and find a supplier who does deliver. I've completely lost the plot of what I was doing. I was doing a render, that's what I was doing. So we've got that shot lined up. Go back to perspective view. Yeah, no, I get it. I've been there, and it is horrendous when you get, like you say, you spend hours on a render and then you find out that something's clipping. There's some of it you can fix in post-production using Photoshop. Some of it you can't. It makes you a better renderer though, because you learn from your mistakes. You learn the hard way. Right, let's see if we can get a good outside shot. Gratuitous bum shot or something. Yeah, that's an option as well. Let's try from here. Let's see what's... This might look absolute garbage. I like to maximize my productivity by trying to get different shots of the same scene from different angles. It's a little bit too gratuitous. We don't want it to be like, here's my bum. Might work. Oh, every time technology moves forward a whole bunch of people stop giving a crap about the quality of their renders. I remember when that studio introduced their post denoiser, and for a considerable amount of time, in fact, arguably it still happens, there was a contingent of people who the level of their renders was just shocking, because they do like 4 iterations and then turn on the denoiser. So they'd be pumping out what can only be described as utter garbage. Horrendous. And it was like, honestly, it was one step away from being cartoon porn at that point. Hey, no worries, Dibs. It's ZBrush is an amazing tool. It really is. That method is so time consuming, but if you do it, if you take the time, you've only got to do it once, remember. So, for each character, you've only got to go through once and create that skin texture. And then once it's in, the normal map is baked in, it's there. But, you spend 2 or 3 hours doing that for a character, and then all of your close-ups are going to look absolutely bang on. It's going to look really good. To be fair, I haven't even finished doing my first character. I made the video as a demonstration of it. I think I actually made a mistake in the video. I forgot to invert the Z coordinates. So when I put the texture on the face, it looked like it was glowing. It's just because I forgot to invert the Z map. But yeah, it can make such a difference. And the thing is, people are always asking me how to make things look more realistic, how to make the textures look better and all that sort of thing. And that's really one of the best ways of doing it. The normal map. If you turn off the bump map and turn on the normal map and give yourself a really solid map to work from, it makes, it can really look awesome. And again, doing that, if you master using normal maps and displacement maps, you don't need to create HD morphs. I know that a lot of people have struggled with the HD morphs video that I uploaded, because it is very hit and miss. The transfer tool is not an exact science. You could do 2 models 2 separate times and come out with 2 completely different, even if you do the settings identically, you'll come out with 2 completely different results, because it's really difficult. Like, and I don't want to say it's a fluke. I know someone said it was a fluke, and I suppose there is a case for that. But if you're persistent, you will eventually get the result you want. But the fact that DAZ Productions limit the HD Morph tool to published artists only, who arguably most of them don't even create HD morphs. There's only about 3 content creators on DAZ Studios marketplace that I can think of that actually do decent HD morphs or HD versions of their own characters. The rest of it is, really, I could have just made a video that said, if you want to do HD morphs, become a published artist, which means spending an inordinate amount of time trying to create something that they're going to sell and make money from. I'm not down on DAZ Studios published artists. Fair play to anyone who manages to get in on that. I certainly haven't got the time or the energy to waste time doing that sort of thing, because I've got quite a lot going on IRL. Right, yeah, that was a fun camera angle, but go back to this one. So what I would do now is go into my mesh resolution. Oh no, she's at as high as mesh resolution as she can get. Okay, go back to the other angle for a minute. Yeah. I've long suspected that some of the characters that are sold on the DAZ Studio store they always claim to be hand sculpted. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that a number of them are not. Like you saw my the video I made on how to create a character. Or well, it's called Let's Create a Character because it wasn't a complete tutorial. But moving sliders around. The thing is, you move the sliders around, you create the character in the shape you want. Make sure she's in the A pose or the T pose, depending on if it's Genesis 3 or 8. Excuse me. Export it at base resolution to an OBJ file. Re-import it using the morph loader tool. Pardon me. And you've created a morph. There's no way of anybody proving that you've used their morphs to create that character, because all that's there now is the base geometry details. So I could spend my day creating original handcrafted characters just by using other people's sliders, and then all I've got to do is create my own skin texture. And again, the skin textures for Genesis 8 are all so very similar that realistically, a minimal amount of changes would need to be done, and then it's an original piece of work. You could quite literally probably not make a living doing that, because people don't buy characters as much as other things on DAZ Studio, but it wouldn't be difficult to create a whole bunch of characters just using that technique. Bear with me for one moment, chaps. Just gotta go and do something. Right, I'm back. Bit dusty. My goodness. My goodness me. I don't wear glasses for anything other than using the computer. Just because I'm ever so slightly long-sighted in my right eye. So if I don't wear glasses for using a computer over the course of like half an hour, 2 hours, depends on the day, I'll get quite a painful migraine going on. But walking around and about, no need for them whatsoever. And as a consequence of that, don't clean them very often. But rubbing alcohol is a godsend. That's better. Hello, Mazam. Is that short for Mohammed or is that just Mohammed? Either way, hello. Okay. Now that this render's starting to clean up, you can see adding a couple of plants in the background just gives it that little bit more feeling of authenticity. Because you just, using an HDRI is great, but just adds a little bit more. And there's enough going on in this render, in this particular angle, I should say, that I don't need to worry about putting stuff in the middle ground. Go back to text shaded mode. And into perspective view. But let's get rid of that one. That was just a... No, that's wrong. That was just me mucking around. Oh my god. Come on. There we go. And... if I get through the window shot, is that going to look any good? No. What I need to do. Put a picture or something on his back wall maybe, or another plant in the corner over here. So that if I wanted to do a back shot, so I'm shooting her in focus from the rear, that he's still out of focus, or even obscured from view, that might work. Actually, this shot wouldn't be terrible. That might work. That might work. If I get far away enough. Zoom in. Let's crop over there maybe. Zoom in a smidge more. Come back to perspective view. Turn on depth of field and come right out with our focal length. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but I've got a bar that's literally about 50 yards away from my window. So if you can hear random people talking in the background, the chances are that's probably what it is. kind of want to go mid-head. I don't want it to go too mad, because if I go, the thing is here, if I go too shallow depth of field, he's going to be in focus, which I don't want. Let's just stick it in IRA and find the happy medium. Bit bright. Oh my god. Annoyingly, I have to request someone to watch my live streams in order for them to be considered monetizable. No idea why. It might be everybody who does live streams has to, I don't know. Is he out of focus enough, or do I need to go a little bit shallower? I think I'm going to go a little bit shallower. Let's try 32 on the depth of field. That's better. But she is very bright. She is very bright. Just wondering if... Let's try tweaking the render setting a smidge. Go into tone mapping, and I'm going to increase the shutter speed to, let's say, 2/50th of a second. That's better. It's only one stop, and now it's not blown out. That plant's a bit too in focus. Go back to our camera and try dropping our f-stop to 22. Excuse me, f22 is better. Now that's not quite so in focus. I wonder what happens if I turn off the sphere for the external shots. That actually looks better. And if I drop my shutter speed back to a 128th of a second, that works better. So I can have the sphere turned on for interior shots because it illuminates him, and then exterior shots. The only thing I'm thinking now is that these walls on the outside, it looks like a holiday villa rather than a house, so I might have to put a plane on the outside with a brick texture on it or something. Go to texture shaded and perspective view. Right, if I select the turn on that. Right. Yeah, no, there's no inside-outside option for those surfaces, so I'm going to have to do it with a new plane. And create a new primitive plane, please. And it doesn't matter on the size because it's only going to be rotate on the x-axis. No, sorry, new mouse. Yes, I also live right opposite a harbour. But you're quite lucky you haven't heard any horns going off until just then. Obviously the second one was me, the first one was the horn. And rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees. Up. Oh my goodness me. Change to the right view as opposed to the wrong view. Yeah, I know. Comedy genius. Right, that plane is quite a long way away from the wall. Let's move it. That is right next to the wall. Come back to perspective view. Right, should now. No, that's. Let's just add a texture to it first, and we'll be able to see what we're doing. Let's go for brick. Let's see what brick shaders I've got. Work. Oh. Have to select the surface to apply the shader. There we go. Right, let's see where we are in terms of our Z translate. So that needs to be minus 6. I'm going to go with, maybe more than that. There we go. It's like that. Now we're going to check our tiling. Right, surface geometry. And we want to change our horizontal tiles. I'm going to say that's probably twice. That looks better. Now if we come back to our camera 3. Yeah, I think I need to duplicate that. What I reckon? Edit, duplicate nodes. And this one, gonna go the other side. Right, cool. Now that's there. Go back to camera 3. Now it looks like she's at least outside. If we go into our NVIDIA rate and have a butcher's at that. Very chatty today, you people. Come on. Now, I reckon maybe that tiling is still a little bit too big. Change it. Let's change it up. Change it to 3 tiles. Come on. Come on, Mr. Mouse. Get a chance to think. Click on that 3 times. Yeah, that looks a bit better. And then same for this one. Boom. Right, that's better. Now we're talking. Yes. Something's not sitting right. I wonder. think I'm going to need to put a plane on the inside of there as well, because the door frame is inside. I wonder, if I select that and I rotate it 180 degrees, no I can't because the door will move with it. Son of a bitch, oh mind you, there is another option. And there it is. Boom. In case you're wondering, I just added a new door frame. I can move these inside that group as well. Turn off the clickability. Right, now that looks like it's an actual doorway. Let's check it from the other angle. Yeah, that's fine. Looking good. I need to put a house number or something. I wonder if I've I think I might be asking, hey man, how you doing? I think I might be asking a bit too much of my content library, but let's just find out. No, I've actually got some house numbers, incredibly. To be fair, I could just create a PNG file of a number and stick it on there if I wanted to. Let's see if there's a letterbox. Although, probably more likely to find something in mailbox. Yeah, immediately, but none of them are the kind of thing I'm looking for. I don't know if you guys have them over in the States. Over here in the UK and parts of Europe, we don't have mailboxes. We just have a slot in the door with a flap. It's like normally like a metal flap, and it's just wide enough to get letters through and small parcels, but like to get a human arm in there would be physically impossible. So you couldn't reach it and unlock the door from the inside. But that's what we have in the UK. Whereas you guys have mailboxes at the end of your garden path. I'm sure you probably do have letterboxes in America, like in the door. Yeah, yeah. Because you've got places like in the States and in the cities and stuff where you don't necessarily have a front garden. Yeah, you probably, yeah. You'd end up with soggy mail every day. Christ knows what Amazon would do for you. If you're not in, just leave a parcel out in the rain. Mind you, I've had that a few times. Get home and find your parcel piss wet through because Amazon man couldn't be bothered to find the parcel box. Actually, to be fair, Amazon aren't too bad. It's like private couriers that are the worst. Right, she's now somehow... Have I got freaking denoiser turned on or something stupid? Let me check my render settings. Filtering? Nope. No, she's just out of focus. I need to come back or increase my depth of field. Increase my focal range. Let's try 32. Just like all the texture in her sweater was just non-existent on her near shoulder. Normally when you're focusing on a character, you'd focus on... See you next time, buddy. Have a good one. Normally when you're taking a picture of a character or a photograph in real life, you're focusing on the eyes. The focus should be eyes, and then everything else is neither here nor there. But when you're shooting for someone from behind, good tip is to just try and keep as much of what's visible in focus, which I clearly did not do. Right, let's just try shortening this focal range by like 3 centimeters. So let's change it to 1456. It's looking better. You can see the texture in her sweater now, at least. Hey, Willstown Joe, how you doing, buddy? Sorry, disgusting. Disgusting. I put my chewing gum in a old tub. I'm not keeping it. Just saves me having to keep running backwards and forwards to the trash can or the garbage. Grazie. Some new scene for the game I'm working on, and let me turn on this. Give us a little bit more light. Boom, looks good. Recycling an old character. Well, it's not an old character, it's a game that I'm kind of... So the Thund engine is based on the game that I'm currently writing, but various iterations of that game over the last couple of years. The female character here is the mum from the sort of second or third iteration of that game. Maybe I'll complete that game, maybe I won't. This is one that nobody ever saw. But I quite like the character. I think she's quite a sort of well-rounded. So I'm sort of... She exists in my game universe, let's put it that way. Who she is yet, nobody knows. Same thing could be said for most of my characters. Yes. Yes, I do. Still working on them. Just can't really talk about them on YouTube for obvious reasons, but still working on. None of my games are abandoned. They're all just... I'm the kind of person who I don't change my mind, but if I find I'm not giving it 100% in something, maybe if I'm getting bored or if I'm losing focus for whatever reason, then I will stop. I'll put it to one side and I'll come back to it when the motivation is back or when the inspiration is back. I won't just keep plugging away for the sake of plugging away. I create games as a hobby, same as I do the YouTube videos and all of that sort of thing. I do it for fun, and if it ceases to be fun, I will stop. I won't stop forever, but I'll put it to one side. And my previous games, the 3 that the public actually saw, got mixed responses. Overall, I would say the feedback was generally quite positive, but the reason I don't do that business model anymore is because the negativity, no matter how thick-skinned you are and how pragmatic you try to be about, oh, well, you can't keep everyone happy and all that sort of thing, it does chip away at you. And you find that if someone's, if eventually it will erode your enthusiasm for the topic for whatever it is you're doing. So I just put it to one side, come back to it later. But the thing is, with most of those games now, unless I have a dramatic change of heart between now and then, you won't see anything more of them until they're finished. Because I'm not doing the whole feeding patrons in drips and drabs business model anymore, because A, it's misleading, and B, it's a really, really, really unreliable business model. If you're using the likes of Patreon or Subscribe Star for your for your revenue generation, you are 100% at the mercy of whoever is in control of those websites. There's literally nothing stopping them from, at some random point in your life, just going, you know what, I'm not going to let you use my platform anymore. And they're not obliged in any way, shape or form to give you a reason. Like, I moaned like crazy when Patreon did what they did to me, but realistically, there's nothing you can do about it. The fact that they gave me even the vaguest hint of why they'd done it was really quite a, you know, they didn't have to. There's no law that says they have to give me a reason. It's in the terms and conditions of the website that they reserve the right to ban whoever they want without giving reason. Anyway, to answer your question, yes, I am still working on my old games. But yeah, you won't see them until they're officially released now. I was considering using OnlyFans as like a platform for funding creation of the games and stuff. Still something I'm thinking about. But again, using a third party to essentially facilitate the transaction of people giving you money is it's sketchy. But then you look at PayPal. PayPal are run by the Liberati as well, and I've had a PayPal account closed because they believed that I was using it to fund stuff that was outside their terms and conditions, which I wasn't, because none of the stuff that I was getting donations for through PayPal were in breach of, but it only takes one person to report you. And when it comes to dealing with matters of moral hygiene, shall we say, you're guilty until proven innocent. Not the other way around. You just look at the copyright system on YouTube. Someone can copy strike you, and you have to prove that you're innocent rather than they have to prove you're guilty. I feel like I want to put a picture on this wall. Something, this dead space is bothering me. But I don't want to put the plant there because the plant is in the corner of the room for a good reason. Let's just come back here. Sorry, I keep going off on these little moral rants when I'm streaming. You guys don't come here to hear me moaning about how unfair the world is, do you? Well, some of you might do, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what makes a lot of you tick. Right, let's go with just a 1 by 1 meter, 1 division plane. Rotate that on the x-axis on 90 degrees. There is a... The thing is, with the envy, I absolutely understand what you're saying, yes, and I agree with you. The reason I think that there's a lot of that is that some of the people who have done really well have done absolutely nothing. I'm trying to find a way. I'm not trying to disparage these people at all. Success in this particular kind of thing, in the VN, the visual novel thing, is very little down to seems to be down to actual quality of content rather than just the planets need to align on the day that you publish or the day that you kind of let your game known to the public. It seems to be very much a case of right place, right time. And I know that I could be sounding bitter because of the way things have gone for me, but as a general rule, that seems to be the case. And, for example, there are guys out there who've been banned from making content that weren't making anything particularly sketchy. Meanwhile, there are games out there based on very sensitive topics, and I'm not just talking about the standard taboos that we're used to. I'm talking about very sensitive topics which could border on, I don't want to say illegal because different laws in different countries, but let's just say immoral content, that are somehow still able to bypass those filters simply by virtue of the fact that they were making quite a lot of money, and the people like Patreon and Subscribestar don't want to ban them, because to do so would be to lose a lot of revenue. And I think that's where a lot of the bitterness comes from, is that people are fed up because it seems to be how much you're making. That being one of them. But yeah, let's not name adult visual novels on a YouTube video. But there are a whole load of games along that sort of lines and that contain some extreme topics. And I'm not just talking about like family taboo. I'm talking about all kinds of like sketchy taboos that people make games on. That it becomes very... It's a bit of pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow when you see someone who's getting away with something much worse than what you were actually banned for, simply because they were making more money than you were. And I think that's why there's a lot of bitterness in that particular thing. That's one of the reasons why I stay out of it now. I'll be happily to air my opinions, but yeah. Right, let's go and have a look. I'm not going to bother changing the scaling of this just yet, because I haven't actually decided what image I'm going to put on there. Key. But mate, if you want to see bitchy, you should try being a photographer. God damn. I was a photographer, commercial photographer for, I don't know, how long was it? 2012 to 2019, so 7 years as a professional photographer. And I'm not I know you probably feel differently at the moment, but I'm not a particularly bitchy person. I'm not wired up to be kind of dog eat dog world and that. But it is really a catty industry, because everyone, I think we've already talked about this in another live stream, where people have don't have the abundance mentality. They just think that there's only a set number of customers going to go around, and they've got to crap on each other to try and get ahead. Maybe one of my really, really, really old photos, just funsies. Which I haven't used in any of my games before. Just got to remember where it is. There it is. Right, so I need to change. Right, which dimension is that? That should be the Z scale. Yeah, it is. Right, so that's going to be 200. That's going to be 300. And that's going to be 50. Okay, let's try a bit smaller. Oh, that's wrong. That's going to be wrong. That's meant to be 100. That's meant to be 50. There we go. I'll stick that in the center of that wall. Took that photo, I don't know, like 5 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's... The thing is, I was doing weddings for a while. I've done about 200 weddings, and I just had to stop because I was being beaten to get work. No, the girl in the picture's not a render. No, that's a photograph I took. But then I was started getting beaten because, not blowing my own trumpet, but I'm quite good at taking pictures these days because I've been doing it for nearly sort of 30 years at this point. So I won't do a wedding for less than sort of £1,600, £2,000 in that region, because of the sheer amount of work that's involved and the quality of the output. But I was being beaten to the punch by guys who claimed they were as good as I was, but were doing it for 400, which I won't even get out of bed for £400 when it comes to photography. And it has to be said that there's been a significant change in attitudes towards weddings over the last couple of decades, where nowadays people see it as a cheap and cheerful party kind of thing, rather than possibly the most meaningful day of their lives. So just wedding photography is a crazy amount of work. I mean, realistically, you're looking at 5 days. Yeah. Do you know, the funny thing is, I used to live, so the place I lived before I moved to this place was on a dairy farm, which had terrible internet, which is why I didn't do live streams. The guys who did the milking of the cows were making £3,000 a month take home. That's after tax. That's literally, like, they didn't have to pay for food or accommodation because they lived on the farm, and the estate fed them. So that was £3,000 in their bank account that was their own, which is more than I ever made even in a month where I had 5 weddings at the amount of money that I was making or charging a customer. I still never took home 3,000 because the amount of expenses you have. You've got insurance, you've got tax, you've got more tax, you've got tax. You've got travel expenses. You've got, if the wedding's far away from where you live, you've got to pay for your accommodation overnight. You'd be lucky to make, after all of the expenses, sort of 2.5 on a good month. That's a fully booked month. Whereas as a commercial photographer, I was making more than that, but still, with the amount of tax that you have to pay, crazy. Yeah, story is by far more important. And that's the thing that I can't teach in my channel, is creative writing and all that sort of thing. I teach you how to make the visuals and edit them, and try and make using that studio as painless as possible. All right, let's see how that looks with the picture in there. Yeah, definitely Aracor. I think, story is the way ahead. It's one of the reasons why I think people have kind of saw that my first game has disappeared off the radar, because they were enjoying the story. But it's still there. And when I finish it, it'll be there for you to have a look at. Does that look weird with that picture there? I'm going to decide. It certainly breaks up the scene and fills up the negative space with something, but I've got a feeling that the audience's eye is going to be drawn more towards that than the person they're supposed to be looking at. Excuse me, which means shallower depth of field required. Let's try going down to F8. I'm not feeling that's going to be too much. Well, she's still in focus, but so's the goddamn picture. How annoying. Yeah. I suppose I read a lot of books as a kid. The internet didn't really become a big thing until I was sort of 17, 18. Yeah, I could draw. I could desaturate it, to be fair. That's not a bad idea, Aracor. I suppose with what I used to do for a living, I was an engineer, working away from home at sea a lot. So with being away from home a lot, you get a lot of downtime, and you can either get drunk all the time, which I did for a little while, but eventually you sort of start, occupying your brain a lot more. So I suppose it's just a bit of imagination or whatever. I'm not a award-winning author or anything like that. Never will be. But I suppose if you love something, if you feel passionately about something, it's a lot easier to write about it. I wonder if I go with this, and I go with this, and I could try. First thing I've got to do is drop down a glossy layered white because it's not glossy. I wonder if I was to drop down the opacity a little bit. I'll go to like 0.8 on the opacity scale. So I'll give it a slightly grayer tint, make it slightly duller. Right, I need to fix that because the wall that I'm peering through is currently obscuring the view. Yeah. I just don't think the picture, it's a nice picture, but I don't think it's going to work where it is. I think I'm going to have to put some kind of like end table or something there, like a telephone table. And texture shaded. Perspective view. Right, let's have a look in the content library for Tableau. Did I type it correctly? Did I bugger? Right, hash at the end of it. Yeah. A console table or something sort of thing people have by their front door with a pad and a pen or something there. Bedside table, no. Nope. Ah, corner table. Nope, it's not a corner. That would work. I could put a clock there, yeah. Certainly thought, right, we go this way and this way. Gonna clip on him. Right, move that there. Move that across. Now I need to put some kind of object. I don't want to put a telephone on there. Yeah, something like that, standard front door furniture, you could argue, isn't it, really? Let's see, key bowl. See if we can find a bowl. Ah, perfecto. Right, let's Control C, Control B, and then let's just crank that up. How tall is this table? 85. I'm going to, nope, not 85. Why can't people make their props a standard size? Why is it always like 86.32 or something stupid like that? People, when you make props, make them a size that people can work with. 90, right. I stand corrected. Pile of shoes. Yeah, you could put any number of things. Right, so a key table. I can put a book there as well. Like a guest log or something, some people have guest books in their houses, don't they? Not sure why. Oh, God, yeah. And then a really humorous fucking, excuse my French, book in like poster in the toilet that has rules of the throne or some shit like that. But yeah, that was funny in the 90s, the first time I saw it. Oh, that'd be interesting. That could be interesting. Very interesting. That would actually suit the storyline as well. I could even write that into the story. Perhaps a little big. Give it 90 degrees. Why translate? 90 degrees, 90 pixels, 90 centimeters. And rotate it a little bit so that it looks like it's been placed there by a human. Yeah. I don't understand toilet roll covers. Don't put the toilet roll in the toilet. Put it in the airing cupboard. Just have one roll in the toilet that people are going to be wiping their ass with. Hook. Okay, let's try. Hook didn't return a great deal of options. There are some, but not. What the? Did you just see that? She just suddenly went into a fight pose and then stopped all of a sudden. Yeah, possibly. I think my dad's studio is haunted. Yeah, that's always awkward, isn't it? When you run out, when you use the last of the toilet roll in someone's. Good morning, Rude. When you use the last of someone's toilet roll, and it's really awkward, especially if they don't have it in the toilet room, because you're sort of like, ah. Now that opens up the discussion of if you've got guests coming around, would you make sure that the toilet roll's refilled, just in case they did want to go for a shit in your house? Where did that appear? Okay. Right, going back to our table. Control C. No, oh god. Put it back at 0, 0. And center in on it. It's probably going to be, yep, loitering outside the back wall because it's got weird orientation. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you don't like them very much, then just like put a newspaper in there or something. Something really scratchy. Yeah. Could be an interesting plot point for a game, couldn't it? Okay. That's weirdly not 90 degrees. Okay, whoever made this prop doesn't have a firm grasp of geometry. Okay. Either that or it's meant to be pissed. Okay. Stick that there. Still slightly off. God damn. Nearly there. That'll do. Close enough. All that just for a freaking coat hanger. Just going to be barely in shot. Put it there. And there. So it's above the table, not above the plant. Right, let's go back to the camera now. That's the wrong camera. Go back to that camera. Yeah, you can just about see it in shot. I think there is a way of doing it. I've probably even done a video on it, but I've been doing this for so bloody long at this point. I forget more than I learn. I know in every other 3D software that you can set the origin point where things are going to appear, but then I suppose Dash Studio isn't a 3D program in that sense. It's just a rendering tool, so it can go either way. See if I find any props that are hanging. Yarp. It's not a coat hanger. It is a coat hanger. We don't need things that have got coat hangers on them though. People hang their coats on hooks, not on hangers. Yeah. Oh mate, back when I was using Genesis 3 for my first game, I accidentally moved the hip bone using the joint editor tool, and then moronically, because I didn't know what I was doing, saved it. So like every render I did after that, I had to adapt, shall we say, because the bone was wrong, and it made life so difficult. That's one of the reasons why I just ditched it, turned it into a morph, and then made it a Genesis 8 character, because it was just such a pain. Right, there is a shirt hanging on a hook, but I don't want to use that because that's not a coat. Yeah, groups are very useful. Very useful. Goodness me. Right, I'm going to give it 10 more minutes, guys, and then I'm going to knock it on the edge purely because it's freaking boiling. And I need to turn my fan on. It's been an emotional morning, chaps. We've talked about all kinds of exciting things. We've talked about the unfairness of scalping and whether or not you would sabotage your house guests by not putting fresh toilet paper out for them. There you go. Useful tips. It's going to be a scorcher today, guys. Wherever you are, I hope you're getting nice weather. I do not do well in the heat. I prefer being cold. Can't sleep in the heat. So we briefly touched on the subject of what I was going to do for 10,000 subs. That's probably, I'll be honest, looking at the growth of the channel, 4 months away right now. But I will think of something exciting to do. I've already got, while I'm thinking about it, I've been speaking to some people who work in the glamour and adult industry. People, some of them actors, models, producers, whatever, various different people. And thinking about doing some kind of little Q&A sessions with them where I just ask some questions and, you know, give you guys a bit more of an insight into the people who work in the industry as a whole. Just for fun, really. So that's something that I'm thinking of doing, adding to the channel. But other than that, yeah, the 10,000 subs stream, I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I will do something exciting. But either way, you know, just stay awesome, really. Keep doing what you're doing. I thoroughly enjoy what I do for you guys, and yeah, you would. Some of the, obviously I know because I've worked in that industry, but yeah, it's amazing. Some of the, there'd be a lot of eye openers, I think. A lot of eye openers. So yeah, it's worth watching just for that. So yeah, that's probably going to happen sometime in the next sort of few weeks. I've already got one model who's quite excited to do it, and a couple of videographers and that sort of those kind of people are interested as well. So yeah, that's going to come soon. I'm gonna try and get some more Let's Render type videos done soon as well. Just I'm aware that I've been focusing pretty hard on the Let's Code season, and that not everybody who comes to the channel is interested in that. So I'm trying to cover all bases, but you know, my live streams I do kind of like semi Let's Render type footage anyway. You guys have seen me build this scene from scratch, and so you know, it's all good. But keep the comments coming anyway. Don't forget your render review submissions. I have got enough to do an episode now, but there's always room for more. So get those in, send them to realthunderl@gmail.com, and we can have a look at your work. Hey, no worries, bro. I enjoy it because I think there's a million and one ways to skin a cat, and I try and make it as basic as possible, because the more basic it is, the chances are the less there is to go wrong. Honestly, if I'd coded my first game now, it would be a much smoother experience, because I've learned a lot more about kind of working within the RenPy module than I knew when I first started out. I had a history of coding, but not with RenPy, because I didn't realize. Oh, good. I'm glad you've gleaned some benefit from it, man. I'm interested to, you don't have to credit me in the credits of the game or whatever for the engine or anything like that, but I'm always curious to see the games that people have built based around the tutorials and the code that I've put out, because as I say, there's like the engine that I'm writing in the Let's Code season. It allows so many different ways of being used, and I'm only scratching the surface in the season, really, using auto events and all those sorts of things. So I'm keen to see what people build with that framework. I wonder what the temperature is right now, because it is freaking hot. My friend's just sent me a picture of him. He's got a beach hut for the day. Bless. That's awesome. Temperature currently where I am is 27 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Alright guys, I am hot and I am going to go. But yeah, that's pretty hot. So, well, by UK standards, and I'm indoors under a hot light. So thanks ever so much for watching, guys. I hope you found that entertaining. Always fun chatting with you guys anyway. I'll speak to you again soon. So take care of yourselves, all right?